All right, I'm gonna show you about the chicken run, and in hindsight, it just really worked well together. What I'm gonna show you, I wish I could say that that was all foresight and planned for, um, but it just happened to be luck. So our chicken coop is 50 feet or so that way, and our chicken run, where we put food, water, and stuff, is over here. I'll explain food and watering and what we've tried in a different video. We have a cross beak, which they sure make a mess of your food and waste a lot, but tried a lot of things, and we'll show that in a different video. We have a run that's connecting from here to the other side, and we're going to show you how to do that with really in an inexpensive way. And what's cool about it is it fully encases them from predators. Now, we don't have an issue of raccoons where I'm at, or any other predators that might burrow underneath to get to the chickens. If you have that issue, you do need to think about laying some kind of chicken wire or flooring that they can't come up through. The chickens haven't tried to burrow out of here. That's not an issue. It's more predators going in. We really don't have many predators in our area that we have to worry about, but it is still fully encased, just in case that was an issue. So I'm going to show you the chicken coop over there, and then we'll talk about the run. All right, so I'm gonna link in the description of the video down to the plans that I purchased, just because I was really impressed with them. They're pretty easy. I don't do a lot of constructing. I don't consider myself like an avid builder. I don't have a ton of knowledge with that. I usually call on my friends that do, Trevor. But this one I was able to build on my own, and it really, well, I can't say it was inexpensive, but what prompted this is we had an Amazon coop initially that was small. I mean, it said 3 to 5 birds, but I felt bad putting one full-grown hen in there. So we knew we had to do something different. I was at IFA and I saw one pretty much just like this, and they're asking like $2,000. This is back at the beginning of the pandemic, and I told myself, oh, I bet I could build that for $200. Clearly, I have no clue. It didn't cost me $200. It cost me closer to $700. But I was really pleased with how it turned out. So the door is on this side, which we'll show you in a second on how to access. The nesting boxes are in here. We have 2 birds right now laying, so I'm gonna let them be. And then their roosting areas inside. This part right here, I did enclose this. It didn't have to be enclosed, but the door to access for the chickens to get out is right here, and it's constantly open. While I do have, it can be closed on the inside, I just leave it open because the coop itself in a run is fully enclosed, so I don't have to worry about predators. But I ended up building this thing on the side and kind of closing it off with some spare wood. I know that looks really professional. I was just trying to block some of the airflow from the winter. Not the airflow itself, but the wind is what I was really trying to block, because it would come in there and get them cold in the winter. Now that connects in a fully enclosed run that goes all the way along over to the other area that we fed, which is about 50 feet away. It opens right here. I'm not going to show you inside because I haven't cleaned it today. We clean it a couple times a week. That goes in a compost. The run goes all the way around. Now you can see we have good shade trees. That's a pomegranate bush, which just does so well in the Southwest. And it is there to be a shade tree. It's facing the south and kind of the west direction, because that sun gets really, really hot down here. And inside the coop, it gets really hot during the summer. So I actually have a fan and a whole system where there's a smart thermometer that will turn on the fan if it gets too hot, but that's for another time. This is just a peach tree, not the ideal location for a peach tree, but I ran out of space for trees, yet I still want to put them in the ground. All right, I'm gonna show you on the coop. Now these are pretty beat up. You can see that, I mean, it's cheap 1x2s. I think that's what that was, but 1x2s and coop, and it's actually only built out on the front and the top, and a full grown hen can't escape out of that. So very, very inexpensive. I mean, I'm talking cheap 1x2s, a couple of screws, and then some staples and some chicken coop. And I think that chicken wiring coop was, I think that was probably 4 foot, maybe it was 36 inches, but I only built out 2 sides, and I'm using what's already there to save down on my costs. So I'm using my rock wall on the back and the ground as the other 2 walls. Now, when we decided to do chickens, our goal was, okay, we can do chickens if we can keep them out of the yard and out of the garden, because we didn't want them doing their business all over the yard. And this does that, yet it gives them plenty of space that they can run around. Now, I talked about how I wish this was all designed in foresight. Let me tell you what I was explaining or talking about there. So in the summer, you really want to provide shade if you're in a hot climate like we are for the birds. I mean, down here, the heat is more of an issue than the cold is. They can tolerate pretty cold temperatures, but that heat is deadly for birds. So they have to have plenty of shade areas in the Southwest. My grapes do a great job at that. Yes, they will eat some of the bottom grapes, but the grapes put out so much, which we'll talk about them in another video. But this allows, once the sun gets hot, and this runs clear to October, these vines, they fully cover in shade. This is only 2 weeks of growth right now, so it'll completely fill out. I'll have to thin it out, it will get so thick, but it provides shade for the birds. It also helps them feel more protected. I'll notice in the winter, my birds will try to gather up in the corners, underneath something that offers shade, behind a small bush, and I think it's just a natural instinct for them to want to be protected. So this allows them to feel safe, takes away some of their anxiety, I'm sure, because birds will get that too. And it does lower the temperature quite a bit. And also, the opposite of that then would be that it'll offer full sun in the winter for the birds so that they stay warm on those cooler days. And also with the rock wall, and that's north, that's south. So the sun in the winter is in the south, and that rock wall will create radiant heat that bounces back on the birds during the winter. So that's where I was talking about. I wish it was all foresight. But I didn't even think about that when I was planning this all out. They need the warmth in the winter and they need the shade in the summer. And the grapes tackled that for me without me even realizing it was an issue. I don't really have a plan with what's going on here with this arch. I picked up the arch because the nursery was trying to get rid of it, so I just took it. And I put honeysuckle on it. The honeysuckle was intended to be a pollinator to draw in bees and hummingbirds and things like that in the back, which it does. And it's an evergreen, so it stays out there in the winter and it will shade and offer some solace for the birds there. So that's why I've kept it. I just don't know what the end goal is going to be with that. When it comes to this side, this is somewhere that we could go inside for when the girls, our kids, think they're pets, so they like to hold them, the chickens. And it's also a place for them to dust bathe, which is important for chickens. That's actually how they clean themselves, to get the oils off the feathers. And it's where we have food and water. And you can see we have probably 4 or 5 different food and water systems here. I'll talk about that at another time, but it's really because mostly of our crossbeak, and she makes it a challenge for us to try to figure out the most economical way to do that. So the last part here that I, again, wish was intended, but it just happened to work out. This sits slightly higher than a compost pile. As I clean this out, I can allow it all to run into the compost. If I overwater, it runs into the compost. So It's nice just to have this close by because a lot of what goes into there comes from what's in here. And so that just makes it nice that it's close by.
Okay, who's this?
This is Pepper.
What's special about Pepper?
She has a cross beak. She was in a certain form in her egg, so her beak grew a different way.
Ah, so we have to help her eat a special way, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Okay, next. Woo! Who's this one?
Frodo.
This is Frodo.
She has furry feet.
So she has furry feet and she's a little smaller than the rest of them, huh? Her eggs are smaller too. They're like half size the other ones. Okay, next. Who's this one?
This is Felicia.
Felicia. She's one of our original ones. She's named Felicia, so we can say,
Bye, Felicia.
right. Okay, who's this one, Em?
Sweet potato.
Sweet Potato.
She's a psychopath.
Madison says she's a psychopath. That's
Sometimes so.
okay. Next.
She doesn't like camera apparently. That was Henry. This one's Goldie. She's very sassy and doesn't like to be held. And she's the original one.
This is Goldie. She's one of our original ones. Okay. Next. Okay, who's this, Ken?
Sunshine.
Sunshine. She's the same
She lays green
variety
eggs.
as Pepper.
She lays green eggs.
She lays green eggs. Pepper lays blue eggs. Okay, Emmy, who's this?
Rockstar.
Rockstar.
She's an alien.
They say she's an alien, whatever that means.
She has a comb that's sideways.
Sideways comb. This is Toby. He's our puppy. Was that all of the chickens? Say it again.
And that's all the chickens. See us next time.